Okay, it should say, oh, there we are.
Live.
Hello, everyone.
This is so exciting.
So exciting. We have Jennie Goutet here today to talk about her book, A Faithful Proposal. So we are so excited about this. Is there anything you want to say right in the get-go about how much you love this book? I know this was a favorite of yours.
This is a favorite of mine, and I think it's because the two main characters are the complete opposite of my husband and me. A lot of times, the kind of the brooding, silent type is more similar to my husband, and I wrote Harry to be just like open and enthusiastic and and then and I am open and enthusiastic and 100% transparent, like, I mean, it's not like I never have a bad mood or anything, but if I like snap at someone, I'm so eager to make it up to them, whatever. And Anna does not care what other people think. And I just had so much fun writing them, because they're so different from my reality. So
that is so fun. I think she is a spunky character, and I love her.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a lot about the defense of Anna, considering the reviews. It's like this whole thing is going to be defending my Anna.
And that's okay, because we love our characters. And so I feel like, you know her better than all of us. And I don't know. I mean, we'll dive into the some of the questions, and I know that some were about Anna and her spunkiness.
Yeah.
But I think every story is worth telling, and I think Anna's is definitely worth telling. So, okay, we'll just start right with the questions.
Why don't we just jump right in?
Right in. Sorry, I have my phone here, so I will be looking down a lot to make sure I'm catching everything, all the comments coming in.
Sounds good.
Martha Keys asked, did you cast your book with celebrities? What was your favorite part to write? So we'll do the celebrities first.
Yes. Okay. So no, I did not. And in fact, the first time I ever looked for inspiration from Pinterest was for A Fall from Grace, which is my most recent. Before that, I had a very, very clear idea of what my characters looked like to me. But I didn't seek to, however, I kind of looked after the fact as sort of cheating. And I realized that Harry is a little bit like Henry Cavill, who played Superman, except his eyes are brown. And but it's those curls, it's those dimples, and except that I envisioned his eyes to be kind of a light brown with gold specks and just like open and eager and smiling. And so he's not like the brooding hot guy, which Henry Cavill seems to be. But and Anna, I guess I kind of thought of her a little bit like Gwyneth Paltrow, kind of the slender, but in my mind they just stayed like that. So no celebrities specifically, at least not at the beginning of the of writing. But she asked what was my favorite part to write, and well, I think I really liked a lot of the scenes where he was fighting with his brother. And I liked a lot of the scenes where there was the back and forth between him and Anna because of their difference of personalities. So so I had fun writing that. But if I had to pick one scene, maybe it was the anguish he felt when he saw, well, this is total spoiler. I'm assuming that people have read the book, but when he saw his brother kiss Anna, and he went and just was just filled with anguish and despair, and he was like, okay, that's it, this is over, because I could really feel it, but I knew he had a happy ending. So I think that was probably my favorite scene to write.
Yeah, powerhouse scene right there, huh?
Yeah, I actually read that. I wrote that. I went to a Georgette Heyer, How to Write Like Georgette Heyer conference in London. And so that was one of my practice scenes. And I had already started this book and I already knew I wanted that scene to happen. So I actually wrote the scene there and then, just had to tweak it a little bit for the book. So.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you did that. So this is my own question.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. So Anna isn't a typical heroine you find in Regencies. What motivated you to write her story? And what do you feel like readers should know about her backstory, and who she represents?
Okay. Well, I'm curious if anybody watching this is one of the naysayers about Anna. If any of them are the ones that did not like her, did not think she was a good fit for Harry. But I think even though I don't write Christian fiction, I can't help but talk about this without, I can't really separate it from faith, talking about this particular issue. But I think I wanted to illustrate that not all people who have faith look the same way. I think sometimes we think, oh, the perfect person to be the wife of a pastor is going to be somebody who's nice, and I was converted in New York City. So a lot of the people that I saw there were not the typical people that you would associate with having a great faith. I mean, there were some drug addicts, and there were also some people that went to the most posh schools, and then there were the powerhouse women, and and I'm still friends with a lot of these people 25 years later, and they still have a strong faith, but they didn't look like kind of the meek, gentle, but that didn't mean that they didn't have faith. And so it's true that shallowness was something that she had to overcome. And I know that a few readers, maybe a good portion of readers, didn't think that I actually nailed it to get that change in her. But, I just felt like she was somebody who, she did not wear her heart on her sleeve. She was somebody who's, despite the fact that outwardly she was shallow and everything, she felt things very deeply, but did not like to show it. And I thought she was a really good match for Harry, who showed everything, like everything he was feeling, and even to the point where sometimes he was a little bit too pious, and so she kind of brought him back down to earth. And then sometimes he was a little bit too dismissive of the society people, and she kind of reminded him that there was worth to be had there too, not to kind of lump them all into one big thing. So for me, they were perfectly suited with each other. I could totally imagine them living happily ever after, and she would keep him on his toes, and he would, keep her down to earth, and I think she would grow in gentleness, like the weakness that she has in the beginning of the book. I think she would grow in that over time with him. So I love Anna. That. I'm a big fan of Anna.
I love it. I know Jennie and I have spoken about this, because my work in progress has kind of a mean girl feel to it. And, sometimes she even bugs me a little bit, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, come on, Bella. But I love her. And just like you love Anna, because there's, they represent people that are worth telling stories about. And not everyone's the same. Not every heroine needs to be the same. We all have our own struggles and our own ways. And anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's like that they are worth telling. They are worth it as people. And they're worth telling their story. Their story is worth telling, and there's always hope. I think a lot of times we make a snap judgment and we just dismiss the person. I mean, we're talking about these people as if they're really people, but there are people like that, and and they can change. And so, anyway, this is representative. So I have very strong feelings about Anna, and I'm sure I will about Bella too when I read it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Okay, Georgette Heyer or Jane Austen? I know she did an updated question that said, which book is your favorite? And you said you would think on that. So
yes,
go ahead and answer the Heyer and Austen.
Well, first of all, I will say that I probably like Georgette Heyer better than Jane Austen. And part of it is I think that Jane Austen would have loved Georgette Heyer. I think she would have adored her books. because she's so witty and funny, and she, she just depicts caricatures, so well, just like Jane Austen. So I think they would have really been kindred spirits. And but with Jane Austen, I love reading it, but it's Georgette Heyer that is my comfort read that I'll go to again and again and again and again and again. And just like I'm constantly rotating Georgette Heyer books through my Kindle, and like I'll read a few other things, and then I haven't read that one in a while, so I'll stick it back on. So probably Georgette Heyer. If I had to pick a book, I think probably Pride and Prejudice for Jane Austen, because it's Pride and Prejudice. Georgette Heyer, I narrowed it down, actually. I had 4 favorites. Where are they? My 4 favorites are The Nonsuch, Arabella, The Unknown Ajax, and Frederica. But I chose Arabella, even though it's one of the less funny ones, and I do really appreciate the ones that are very funny, like The Unknown Ajax is hilarious, and so is The Grand Sophie. But Arabella is probably the most romantic. Like there's this one scene where he's been dabbling with her, playing with her the entire book, and she knows it. And there's a line where it said that she had not been the reigning belle in her town. Not to be able to catch up on the fact that he was just flirting with her and not to take it seriously. So she really guarded her heart. But then, there was enough of her that came forth, and then it said, now he was hunting in earnest. And I just love that line. It's like he had gone over the edge, and he was no longer playing. He was like, now he was hunting in earnest. So only Georgette Heyer could come up with stuff like that. Yeah. So that's probably my favorite book. It's the most romantic, I think, of everything.
Love that. That is so great. And how did you say her name? It was, is it Angel? I'm going to butcher it.
Angélie, yeah.
Like
I don't know. Probably in English it would just be Angélie.
Angélie. Okay. Yeah. I love it. It's so pretty. Okay. And then Desiree, Paul. Desiree. Gosh, yeah. I'm like really great at names here.
Here's another French name, Desiree.
Yes. She has a lot of great questions for you. So I'm kind of going to just like ask one and then go to her next one.
All right.
So do you have an outline or idea of where you want the story or characters to end, or are you a pantser?
Okay. It depends on each book. Each book is different. Like with the first Regency, A Regrettable Proposal, I just had the idea for the drunken proposal. That was all I had, and the fact that he would just be trying to make it up to her for the rest of the book, but I didn't have any of the other plot line in place, so I had to kind of go and build that after the fact. With A Faithful Proposal, I had the characters pretty much in mind, who I wanted them to be, but I had to work on the plot. And a lot of times what I do is I will begin writing so I can flesh out the characters, and then I have to stop, and then I have to plot the rest of it. So I cannot plot it all in advance, but I can't also write the whole thing. I don't have a natural gift for just coming up with a story that makes sense, just pantsing it all the way through. It's just not my strength. So I do have to have some plotting.
Yeah, we all have different strengths, and you obviously are a great writer. So
thank you.
Right, with music or snacks?
Music, no. I try, but I need silence. I mean, the most music I get is my kids pillow fighting upstairs, or my daughter's AC/DC coming from her room, But snacks are kind of an unfortunate yes. Especially in a quarantine. Like I haven't gone to the gym at all, and I'm like, oh, gee, my pants are getting harder to close. What's going on here? So the snacks, I kind of need to calm down or maybe get something a little bit healthier. But yes, I have an unfortunate weakness for snacks, like cookies, chocolate, and stuff like that. So
that's so great. She also asks, where has your research for books taken you?
Oh, I actually prepared this. Um, all over the place. I end up reading a lot about Napoleon and the wars and things like that. Even though I don't write a lot about that, I do include references, but I haven't set a story on the peninsula or anything like that. But there was this amazing book. Wait, there we go. That a friend of mine in Lyon, her ancestor wrote it, and it's actually written by a Napoleon soldier. Isn't that the coolest thing? It's in French. So, so I read it and I just was so like drawn into the story because I'm getting first hand. It's his memoir. And when he joined at the age of, I don't know, he was not even 18 yet, he couldn't read or write. So he learned and he became a baron, like Napoleon made him a baron, and he was a peasant, you know. It's just such an interesting story, but like, you know, I learned, for instance, when they fought against Russia, they what Russians would do is if they left behind injured soldiers, they would just torch the whole building and kill all of their own soldiers rather than leave them for the enemy. And so then the French soldiers would come and they would warm themselves on the buildings and everything. And then when the French were routed from Russia, you know, he had a troop, he had 138 men. And when they got back to France, there were only 4 of them. Like, that's how devastating the cold. It was 30 below zero. He said breathing in was like breathing ice needles. You know, it's just so fascinating. So anyway, I could go on and on. I love research. And I read also about like high society and all of that. But I particularly like the wars as well. Like, I like everything that has to do with Regency. It doesn't just have to be about the high society.
Cool. And then she said, any interesting tidbits of history that stands out? I don't know. I mean, well, you kind of just mentioned that,
yeah,
but do you have any other? Okay.
Well, I think what first really struck me about the Regency period was the fact that Jane Austen actually lived in it, you know, and I just thought that is the coolest thing. And the fact that she, you know, that the Prince Regent knew who she was and wanted her books, and, you know, so I think for me that was probably something that pretty stellar, that you know, that really tied my two worlds together. My childhood love of Jane Austen with, you know, the genre that I write in now. So, yeah.
Okay. And where did the idea of the series Memorable Proposals and Clavering Chronicles come from?
Okay, so the Memorable Proposals was kind of a just by chance, you know, in the sense that I had this idea about the drunken proposal, you know, that he was going to just insult her and just propose drunk and just make such a mess of it. And then I needed to find a series title. So even though the second one was not so much about the proposal, you know, it was like we thought, okay, let's tie it together and we'll go along the same lines. And so we have the Memorable Proposals, a Faithful Proposal, and all of that. Clavering Chronicles is just because that's the baronet's first last name. So, you know, nothing really special about that. But the idea for A Fall from Grace, which is the first in the Clavering Chronicles, is that I had actually started this as a reader magnet a long time ago, that, you know, and I wanted to use this idea of somebody who needs help. And it's kind of similar actually to Arabella in some ways, by Georgette Heyer. She needs help and she shows up at this kind of jaded man's residence. And, you know, he assumes that she's there to kind of trap him, but she's actually there because she really needs his help. So that is a kind of a very similar beginning to a Georgette Heyer. But then I was like, oh my gosh, it's too similar to Georgette Heyer. I have to do something different. So I added, you know, other twists and everything like that to kind of change it. So that's how that came about. And then the others in the series will be the brother and sister of the baronet.
So great.
Yeah.
You're getting lots of sweet comments on here. Like, I enjoy your spunky characters. Candace says that.
Thank you.
And Shaylin says opposites attract, when you were talking about Anna and Mr. Ashley.
It's so true. We need the opposites to balance each other out.
Sarah says you look. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
I was just
ahead.
gonna say, like, my husband, he like, when we go somewhere, we have to think ahead of time. I'm like, "Okay, honey, I need to be quiet and you need to talk." Like, we have to actually, like, remember, otherwise I'll just be like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," and he's
Yeah.
nothing.
I love that. I love that. Sarah says you look gorgeous, and then
Oh,
Kathy
thank
is
you.
gonna try out Arabella from your
Oh,
recommendation.
yes, 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 yes.
And then Jan says she thinks you're a great writer also. So those are all
Oh,
sweet
thank
comments.
you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm not reading the Facebook because I don't wanna be distracted or anything, so
Yeah, no, you're
it's
good.
good
I'll
to
keep you
hear.
updated.
Yeah.
Future plans and ideas for those series. Are there? You just said that brother and sister will both get one.
Yeah. So I know that a few people have asked. So this is a question that's going to come up again. A few people have asked about Phoebe, whether she's going to get her own story.
Maybe.
And the truth is, I don't know yet. Originally, my plan was definitely at least 3 of them, if not also a side character, Lord Ingram. But the truth is, um, it is more profitable to self-publish, and I can't self-publish a related book to something that's been traditionally published. So I've put it on hold. If I do it, it won't be for money. It'll be a love project. It'll be because I have this great idea for Phoebe that has taken hold of me the same way Anna's story did. It was like I didn't care. This story had to come out. So I didn't care whether or not I was going to earn something from it. And so I'm actually not sure. For the moment, there's been nothing particular that's bit me about Phoebe, although I do have a basic idea of, what her love interest would be. So maybe it will come about. So right now I'm focusing on, after our series, our Sweet Regency series, the Seasons of Change, I plan to write about Philippa next, and then George will also get his story. So those are kind of simmering in the back of my mind, and then probably on to new series. And but yeah, I'm definitely, I like series because you get to know the families, and then you care about them.
Yeah, exactly. Angie asked that same question about Phoebe, so good job
Yeah, I knew
answering
there was
that.
somebody else. Yeah, so Angie, I'm not sure yet. It's not a no, but it's not in the immediate plans.
Okay, and Casey Stockton asked, who was your favorite character to write? Probably in this book, I'm guessing. And did you have
Yeah,
a favorite scene, or was there a particular, well, we talked about your favorite scene. Was there a
yeah.
difficult scene to write?
Yes, the difficult thing to write was the whole gosh, writing the whole naval scene. I had to figure out what happened to Antoine Fouché and Captain John Leatham. Why was John Leatham's ship? Where had it gone missing? And this, I had the invaluable help of author Arlam Hawks, who is a British Royal Navy expert. So she was able to tell me, for instance, that if a cannonball plows into the side of a ship, that will not sink it. So that was something I did not know. So I had to readjust. Okay, so how am I going to get him lost at sea but not dead? And how can Antoine Fouché save him so that they can? So that was something that was really complicated. And actually, when I sent her my manuscript, there were just chapters missing because I had no idea what to write. So that was probably the hardest scene to write. Characters, like, I really did enjoy writing the brother, who was kind of vicious, but it was fun to write him, like how dismissive he was, and how, because it just set such a perfect foil for the sweetness of Harry's character. So I had fun writing that. I had fun with their back and forth, and I just absolutely adored Harry. It's like, he's so like an eager golden retriever or something, I just loved him. So,
That's a great description.
yeah. I mean, maybe not the best for the hero, but he was handsome enough to make up for it, and
No,
yeah.
so
So
sweet. Okay, do you base any of your characters off of people you know? That's from Betsy.
yeah, I had to think about that one. And, I think I do, but really rough, like a like one of the dowagers was based off an older woman that I know. I won't say who, just in case there's somebody who would ever. um, and I think that it's more than just like gluing it to a particular person. I do think I take composites of people, and they become the character. It's like a composite of different personalities, and so yes, the real life does make its way into the books for sure, but it's not necessarily always this person is like this character or something. But
yeah, characteristics, you just borrow them sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm echoing. I can hear myself.
Okay, I'm good though. I don't hear you, so that's good.
Okay.
I don't hear you echoing. Yeah.
Valerie Sharp says, which comes to you first, characters or plot?
That depends. With A Regrettable Proposal, it was the plot. With A Faithful Proposal, it was 100% the characters. It was like I just knew who needed to be together, and I knew exactly what they were like. With A Fall from Grace, it is more the plot than the characters that come to me. And sometimes, I find myself drifting a little bit like, oh, this is too similar to that story. So then I'm like, okay, wait, rein it back and like make it my story. So sometimes I'll have to pull back. But I think it just depends on the book that I'm writing, whether it's the characters or the plot that are the driving force.
Okay, Ashley asks, do you typically plan a whole series out or decide you want to expand once you start writing and love the side characters?
I usually start with the intention that it will be a series, but I don't necessarily know who, or if I do know who, I make sure that those characters are interesting enough to expand on them, like A Fall from Grace. I know we're not talking about that particular book, but in A Fall from Grace, I make sure that Philippa and George are have personalities that you would want to get to know more, like to the point where they kind of scold their older brother, and they'll talk back, or they have like little weaknesses or things like that. So I do write it with the intention of building. Yeah, because I just think series are so fun. Once you get to know a family, you want to hang out with them. So, and it's like same for the writer as for the reader. I think the writers want to hang out with them too. So yeah, I usually go for the series aspect.
Okay, and then we have our final question. Comes from Jill Warner, who says, why did you choose to publish in the US instead of France?
Well, I have one book published in France, and it's my memoir, which is translated in French. But it just didn't make sense to publish here for a French-speaking audience when the books are in English. Now, publishing on Amazon is obviously worldwide. Like my books are available in France. People can get them here, even in English. But it would not have made sense for me to try to find a publisher in France, because most of them would not publish books in English, and and when the difference between publishing my memoir, which was in French, was I needed to have an LLC. And I needed to buy, no, I actually didn't need to buy. They're free. The ISBN numbers are free in France. So I got one for my book and everything like that. I know, it's very nice. So yeah, but other than that, the truth is, though, it's very hard to do the same kind of advertising and everything like that. So I'm actually really happy that I'm American, that I can publish in America, and that I have that whole thing, because I think I would be a little bit lost in France. But mainly here, they really just want French books. So I think I plan to translate some of my books so that my local people can read them and everything. But other than that, I'll just keep publishing in America and in English.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yay. And so you just had another book come out. You had A
Fall
Fall
from
from Grace,
Grace.
right?
Yes, yes. So
That
that
one
came out.
is got an orange sticker yesterday. I saw that,
Yes,
right?
I know, I was so happy. Yeah, so it got a number 1 in British historical literature. And that one was really fun too. It does seem like every single book, like right around the middle, I just think I am never going to finish this thing. Like these are insurmountable holes that I cannot fill. And I'm like, I need so much hand holding. I'm like calling all my writer friends, like, help me. Like, how can I get this to do? And I'm just like, if I were a real writer, I would just know instinctively how to do these things, and they just don't come. And then when it all comes together, and then I get the great feedback, where people say, okay, you don't need this or add this, that I'm like, oh, it's magical. Look at
Or
this.
you're a good writer.
It's thanks to a lot of people helping. So that's for sure.
I think most writers feel I am right in that spot in my story, my work in progress right now. And so
yeah, we were just like,
I hear you. I feel you. It's hard.
yeah, I'm never gonna get this done, and
Come out.
yes, exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
but it is such a victorious feeling when you have it and then you actually love them, because there are times, like I remember with a regrettable proposal, when I was at the last editing stages and the publisher sent me the book back I just, every time I sat down, I felt this like my throat close up. I was like, I don't want to look at this book ever again. So, but it does. You do get a little bit more attached. Fortunately, otherwise I would throw in the towel. So,
Exactly. And the reviews have been amazing for it. So
yeah, which is so kind. Not like a faithful proposal, if I could have given it negative stars, but
it's like one person. No, most people love that one too. I think it just, that's what, like my husband always says. I actually showed him the review to me about the other day, and he was basically like, that's not the reader for her. Like there are so many readers who would appreciate this story and who love this story. And just because one person says that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I can relativize things. The worst critic was my very first book, my memoir. I handed it, preciously to my husband. And then he sat down, he's like, okay. And he had his list of notes. And I was like, And after that, I'm just like, I got a really thick skin,
Good. I'm good now. Can't get worse than that.
Throw it at me. I'm fine. And the funny thing about memoir too, it's not just your skill as a writer. It's also like who you are as a person, so those are the, but
yeah, your
anyway,
brave soul.
Yeah, I'm fine with negative reviews. And, a lot of times you really actually can learn from them. And so in that sense, I appreciate it. And I've actually gone and made changes because of negative reviews, or I've carried it forward into the next book. So I don't mind. I really don't mind. But sometimes they do make me laugh a little. And they're like, okay, this is not my reader.
Exactly. Well, I loved it. I think you're a solid writer. I don't know why you say that sometimes. You do such a good job.
Thank you, Jess. And thank you so much for hosting, so I didn't have to do this all alone. Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful. Jess is our hero.
Of course. Oh no. I was happy to do it. So anyway, thanks everyone for checking, for watching, and for being here, and your sweet comments. Lots of people had said hello. So
thank you. I'll go read the comments afterwards. Thank you, everyone. Bye.